Well, Paul Upham's with us throughout the evening from secondsout.com. He's the senior boxing writer there. And Paul, looking ahead to, firstly, before we talk about Mundine and Dowling, what about this next heavyweight bout coming up?
Yeah, well, I'm really looking forward to this. I think it should be a very exciting fight. You've got two big men, two big punchers. We saw what Roger Eisenreich is capable of. Fantastic puncher. He's got just an absolute phenomenal body. I've never seen a man look so fit and so muscled. He's definitely got the power. And Nathan Briggs, you know, what a class man he is in the ring. Of course, his brother, Paul Briggs, is the #1 contender for the light heavyweight world title. We've seen Nathan Briggs before at heavyweight. He's a very classy fighter. And I'm expecting a very good performance from him tonight. But, you know, Roger Eisenreich, very difficult man to stop. He's so strong. So I think it's going to be a great heavyweight fight for the fans.
Paul, looking ahead to the main event from the point of view of where this fight sits for Anthony Mundine. Now, we know he's got the compulsory fight coming up against the loser or the winner of Siaka and Mads Larsen coming up. Well, that fight's coming up in a couple of weeks' time, so he fights early 2005. Why this fight here on the Gold Coast against Juarne Dowling in his preparation? Well,
it's a risk-reward basis. A lot of people will say Anthony Mundine's silly for taking a fight. The WBA has ruled that on November 12, Manny Siaka makes a defence against Mads Larsen in Denmark. The winner must fight Anthony Mundine first up early in 2005. So some people would say, why does Anthony Mundine want to take a fight? He's got a guaranteed world title fight. But on the other hand, a fighter cannot improve just sitting on the sidelines. It's not always good just to train in the gym. He needs the pressure of a real fight. So Anthony Mundine's done the right thing by not only himself, but I think by the Australian fans who get another opportunity to see him in a fight against Juarne Dowling. A lot of people think this is a young, hungry fighter. Great work for Anthony Mundine to give Juarne Dowling this chance, this opportunity to make a name for himself. And as I said, the risk-reward, you know, Anthony Mundine loses tonight, no world title fight in 2005. So Anthony Mundine knows that he has to win tonight. I've seen him come in tonight, he looks focused. He understands that this is not a world title fight, but if he doesn't win this fight, he doesn't get the world title fight rematch in 2005. Obviously, he'd love to get Manny Siaka in the ring again and prove to the world that he is the best super middleweight in the world today.
Taking a look at the rankings of the respective boxing magazine, Ringside magazine, of the top rankings of the top 6 in the super middleweight division. Just take us through these, Paul, and what we can expect and see in the future of what's going on in this division.
Well, we see Joe Calzaghe on top there. He's been the long-reigning WBO super middleweight champion. Some people will tell you that he hasn't proven himself as such. He hasn't been in that one big career-defining fight yet. But you have to give him credit. He's been champion for a long time. And I think it's a very exciting time for the super middleweight division because, of course, we've got Anthony Mundine. We saw him against Manny Siaka. We know Manny Siaka is a great fighter. We know Joe Calzaghe is one of the best in the world. Ring Magazine class him up on the top there. You can add now Jeff Lacey, the American Olympian who won the IBF title a week ago, and he'll be factored into the new rankings when they come out. And of course, all Australian fans know that we have Danny Green here. So Anthony Mundine is amongst an exciting division now. What we want is we want to see the big fights. We want to see Anthony Mundine get that rematch against Manny Siaka. And then, of course, I'd love to see Anthony Mundine against Joe Calzaghe. Throw in Danny Green there, throw in Jeff Lacey. And what it means for all these fighters is some big paydays in big worldwide fights. And I think, for Australian boxing fans, it's an exciting time. And I think over the next 2 years, we can see some really great fights.
Just seeing some live pictures of Anthony Mundine, who's arrived here at the Carrara Sporting Complex on the Gold Coast.
Coming back to claim what's mine. I'm coming back to claim what's mine. I'm the best. All right.
And he's still as confident as ever.
My family, my babies. Hey.
Hello, Anthony. But we saw that confidence back, didn't we, Paul? In what we saw against Sean Sullivan, it was a polished performance, but we saw the confidence back. He even said, I'm back. So that mental, I guess, agony that he went through about, I guess, some bad decisions in fighting Manny Siaka, the way he went about the bout, he's back.
Well, the hardest thing is for a fighter to come back off a loss. And we saw Anthony Mundine, he was so devastated when he lost that world title. It's very hard for a fighter who has such charisma and has a ride to the world title on a positive aspect. He gets deflated when he loses the world title. And for Anthony Mundine to not only beat Sean Sullivan, but the way he did it, he used a style which he hadn't used before, working on the inside. We hadn't seen that. It was the complete opposite to what many people expected. And I just think that Anthony Mundine showed that he's back on track.
Really, I mean, we've got to go back a bit further. Anthony Mundine has climbed the mountain twice now. I mean, he got there against Sven Otke, the great Sven Otke, who ended up retiring undefeated world champion. And Anthony Mundine was KO'd in the 10th round in a fight that he was actually winning in Germany and was ahead on the scorecards against Sven Otke. And everyone said Sven Otke can't punch. And, Since then, Zvenotki has retired. He went on to be an undefeated world champion, something like 22 defences, and will go down in the division as one of the greatest. Now, Mundine, everyone wrote him off after that. He came back, he won the world title off Antoine Eccles when no one gave him a chance against a very dangerous opponent in Antoine Eccles. He's lost the title to Manny Siaka in his second defence after beating Nishizawa in his first defence. And look, Manny Siaka, his third shot at the world title against Byron Mitchell, and I'm not sure the other guy, but, you know, tough opposition. Manny Siaka is a top-class fighter, very big super middleweight, and I think, you know, it was a hell of a hard fight for Anthony Mundine. It was a razor-thin decision. He lost the world title. He didn't get knocked out, didn't get hurt. I mean, against Zvenotki, he was knocked out, came back and put together a string of victories, won the world title, lost it in the second defence. He can do it again. He's still learning, he's still on the up.
And Paul, if I could just bring you back in, we're talking about that fight coming up next month between Siaka and Mads Larsson. I mean, Mundine wants to fight Siaka in the rematch, but what's going to happen? What are your thoughts on what happens in that fight in Denmark?
Well, look, I like Manny Siaka going into this fight. A lot of people will say that being in Denmark, it's got to give Mads Larsson a big advantage. And I know he's been trained by Buddy McGirt now over in Florida, and that has to say to me that Mads Larsson is a quality fighter because Buddy McGirt's one of the best trainers in the world today, and he wouldn't be working with Mads Larsson unless he thinks he can win the world title. But I just think Manny Siaka's had that experience. It took him four chances to win the world title. I think he's one of these fighters who's going to improve as the champion. And having said all that, I just think that Anthony Mundine, at his best, can beat Manny Siaka. Look, I think Manny Siaka is going to win a very close fight in Denmark. It won't be easy for him, but I'm really hoping that he does, because I'd love to see Anthony Mundine get that chance of redemption to show the Australian fans and the world that, okay, it was a close fight the first time, and I think it's important that we remember it was a close fight. Anthony Mundine was down the canvas, but one judge did score the fight for Mundine, two had it for Siaka. It was a close fight. I think with some improvement, and I think Anthony Mundine has to pick up here, and he, as Adam suggested before, he has to bring some sparring partners over from overseas to improve his performance. And I think going into 2005, off a good win tonight, I think Anthony Mundine can win the world title back. Yeah.
Paul, you touched on it before. I mean, Siaka, when he came into that fight against Mundine, he'd already lost 4 world title shots, and now he was going in for his 5th one against Mundine. You can see the fighter who knows how to lose, and he kind of seemed a little bit. He didn't seem as hard. He got harder and harder as the fight went on, and then he came home strong. Have you heard anything about him being a champion? Because I think you're right. He'll get better as a champion, that guy.
I don't think Mads Larsson can stop Manny Siaka. His only chance in Denmark is to outbox him. I think Manny Siaka, going back as a world champion, he'll review his performance, he'll come back better. I think he has a tremendous amount of power, which we didn't see all the time against Anthony Mundine. And I know his father, Manny Siaka Sr., will be encouraging him to use those big right hands, the one that we saw cause Anthony a little bit of trouble in their fight. I just think Manny Siaka is going to be a better fighter for it. I do expect him to win. It won't be easy. But as I said, I just want to see Manny Siaka win because I want to see Anthony Mundine in that rematch.
Has Siaka done anything since that world title fight?
He's just been training back in Puerto Rico. He was, celebrated as another one of the great world champions. I think the 50th world champion that Puerto Rico has produced. They've got a great history down there in Puerto Rico. And look, we won't know for sure until we see him in the ring. But I just think Manny Siaka, once he's got the title now, he's not going to give it up early.
Well, we've been talking about animals all night. It looks like a leopard has just crawled into the ring to one of our ring girls tonight. But gentlemen, while we've got some time, we're still waiting on our first heavyweight bout between Nathan Briggs and Roger Eisenreiter. Let's look at some of the vision from what we saw last time, Mundine v Sullivan. Now, the knockout came at the 48-second mark of the 10th round, and we know, Barry, that Juarne Sullivan will just keep walking up, keep taking. He's very robotic. But, gee, Mundine had a vast kit of punches, as you say.
He did. I mean, Anthony Mundine from the first round onwards showed that he can fight up close inside and use beautiful body punching, great uppercuts, just a full kit of punches. Look at that vicious right grip to the body. But look, Juarne Sullivan, one of the toughest men I've ever seen. All credit to Juarne Sullivan. He's been a world-rated light welterweight, and now he's up against the best super middleweights in the world, and gives everybody a hard fight. But I think the referee probably pulled this up just about the right time.
Well, it was interesting, wasn't it? Because, 7th or 8th round, we were all thinking, this is it, he's had enough, he's finally got it. For a moment there during that 9th round, Sullivan actually almost got back on even keel there before Mundine unleashed what was his most ferocious burst we've seen from him for a long, long time.
Yeah, well, at the end of the ninth, if you remember, I did say that I still think Anthony Mundine had plenty left in the tank. We can see Sean Sullivan was wobbly on his feet there when the fight was stopped, and you know, it was 47 seconds, I think it was, into the 10th and final round, and Anthony Mundine was just building on it, and Sean Sullivan was getting hit from all angles, and I think the referee did the right thing in stopping the fight. But what a warrior Sean Sullivan, he really is.
Amazing career in New
That's
Zealand.
why I could never be a trainer. I mean, I would have thrown the towel in the fourth round.
I think I would have, yeah.
Paul, we'll say thanks to you for now, and we'll come back to you a little bit later on, and Paul Upham will be joining us, and he'll be interviewing Tony Gunn-Bonello later on, or hopefully finding Tony Gunn-Bonello in his warm-up before our no-rules bout. If you've just joined us,